in my offices here for our third interview with Rusty Streetman, who is currently a member of the Isle of Palms City Council and is running for re-election. Before we get into all that, Rusty, how did you first end up on the Isle of Palms? How long ago?
Well, Lynn, I ended up on the Isle of Palms full-time in 1984.
Okay.
When I relocated my family here because of work responsibilities for the work that I did. Prior to that, I was working in the area, and from 1980 until 84, and that was just coming down on a daily or a weekly visit, and I loved the place. I brought my family down, and I said, find us a place to live, and I thought they would probably end up in the Somerville area.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we all met up at the motel later that night, they said, Dad, we found a great place to live. Where? Isle of Palms. I said, Isle of Palms? That's at the end of the world out there. Of course, back in those days, in '84, you only had the Isle of Palms connect.
The Sullivan's
Island drawbridge,
right.
Basically. And but anyway, being the good father and husband that I am, we ended up on Isle of Palms, and I got to tell you, it's the best decision my family ever made for me.
Where did you move from?
We moved from the Columbia area at that point. So.
And how old were your kids when you moved?
My oldest daughter, Stacy, was 16 years old. My youngest daughter, Nicole, was 13 years old. And had it not been coming to the Charleston area that was close to beaches, I would have had an impossible time getting them out of Columbia.
Right, with that ages, sure.
With those ages and being that engaged in their school activities. But within a couple of months when they got here, they had new friends, new surroundings, at the beach,
right.
Loving every minute of it.
And they're both still on the islands, right?
Well, my oldest one is. She
Okay.
owns a home on Isle of Palms. My younger daughter has moved to Park Circle.
Okay.
And she loves it there too, but we see her quite often, so they are both close.
Tell us about your wife.
All right, my wife is Deborah. We've been married for 55 years. I married her when she was like 12.
Of course you did.
And I was 14. but anyway, that's another story.
Of course.
And not quite true anyway. But we have been married a long time, and they said it would never be successful, would never make it. Here we are 55 years later, wondering when that day is going to come that the marriage is over.
Right.
But now we found it's probably too expensive to divorce anyway, so
yeah.
We're stuck with each other.
Grandkids or animals?
I have one grandson, Clayton Johnson. He's the son of my oldest daughter, Stacy, 25 years old, just turned 25. He's a young executive with Bank of America. Works in Charlotte, and working his way up through the system.
Charlotte's the place to go.
Yeah,
in the banking industry in the South.
Right. He's a Clemson graduate. He's been out of school now for several years, and he really loves the Charlotte area. But again, he gets down here quite often.
That's about to say. It's a 4-hour drive.
About a 4-hour drive. In fact, he's coming in today. He's going to be in for the weekend with a bunch of his buddies, and his girlfriend's coming along. So
that's always nice when you live in the bridge. Everybody wants to come stay at your house.
Exactly. So yeah, we have a small family. I mean, it's really just my wife, 2 daughters, my grandson. That's our immediate family. I have other family, sisters, and
right.
all that. Live in Columbia and Greenville and areas like that.
So you moved here, and you continue to work. What business were you in?
Mm-hmm. I was in retail supermarket industry. I worked for Bilo Supermarkets, which is a large regional chain.
Right.
And I had a lot of responsibilities with them over the years, but I sort of worked myself up in the system. I was in college, and in just a part-time job here and there. Never really thought I'd stay in that business as a full-time
What'd you start out as over there?
A bag boy.
Did you really?
Yeah, in Greenville, South Carolina.
That's great.
That's
all the way through with Bilo.
That's my hometown. I had other jobs occasionally, but basically
always came back to Bilo.
Always came back to it, and I ended up working my way up through the system. Got one promotion after another, and eventually became an operations vice president for them, and I was responsible for about 85 grocery stores and almost 10,000 employees throughout the Charleston, Myrtle Beach, Hilton Head area, all of the state of Georgia that we had. I had all those stores under my responsibility, and then part of North Carolina as well.
And so you're retired now?
I'm retired. I've been retired now for a little over 8 years.
Was it being retired and said, you know what, I think I'm going to jump in and be on city council?
Well, I didn't do that right away.
Right.
But what I did when I retired is I did make up my mind at that point that I was not going to go to the recliner and sit there in the recliner and watch television.
You play golf?
I do play golf badly,
Yeah.
you know, but that's another story
Right.
too. But I enjoy playing golf.
Yeah.
What I did is I'm involved in some charitable activities too. The MUS.
I was going to ask you about
Yeah,
that.
the Children's Hospital, Sean Jenkins, MUSC
I
Children's
see you
Hospital.
associated with it all the time.
Right, and I've been associated on that board for the advisory board for 10 years now.
Right.
And that keeps me pretty busy, and I like to stay engaged with that. Low Country Food Bank, I was on that board for 9 years. I've been on the Susan G. Coleman board.
Sure.
In the past. Right now, I'm on the Low Velo board.
Yeah,
you know, for
the bike race for the
yeah,
firemen.
I'm on the executive committee for that. So I've always liked to stay involved in things.
Sure.
And in charitable things. Of course, you know, you're not making any money, but you're giving of your time and your effort. I just enjoy doing that. So that's been what I was doing, and then getting back to the city council thing, about 4.5, 5 years ago. I guess it's about 5, closer to it. About a year before I actually ran, I started getting interested in island politics because we had the whole marina referendum coming up with the docks and all that stuff, and just things were going on. I was back on the island full time, and I just got more and more engaged in local politics and wanted to know more about it. So I started attending some meetings, you know, for city council, and you know, whether it be the Ways and Means Committee or the full city council meeting. Spoke on a couple of subjects in the citizens' comments at different times, and you know, I just became more and more engaged. And I had a couple of people in my ear, you know, say, "Why don't you run for council? Why don't you run for council?" And I'm like, "No, I don't want to get that engaged." Anyway, I did, and I won.
Yeah. It's a lot of work, as I've said to the two people before you. It's a lot of work. It's not just council. There's countless meetings. We live in a community that people are anxious to let you know their opinion.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, that's
So
politics.
it's everywhere though. You go to Delta Pharmacy. Somebody may ask you about, you know, why is my drainage not fixed,
Right.
or why haven't they redone the bridge yet?
I get those calls all the time, and of course we don't have, you know, like single member districts or anything.
Right.
You're elected at large. So, and we have over 4,000 residents of the island. So, I, along with the other 8 that serve on council and the mayor, we represent everybody.
Right.
So, you get a lot of those calls, a lot of emails, and to your earlier point, it's certainly not a part-time job if
No.
you do it right. I mean, you really have to invest the time and effort to make sure you know what's going on as the meetings are coming up, to do all of your research. A lot of materials are provided to you. You have to ask a lot of questions if you're going to do it the right way. And
Couple
but it's-
committee meetings.
Oh yeah. All of us serve on at least one committee. You know, other than the city
big-
council
the big
workshop.
four,
Yeah. So, and in my case, I have 2. I'm chairman of the Public Services and Facilities Committee, and also a member of the Administration Committee, which handles personnel matters.
Right.
And then, of course, we have the City Council Workshop, which used to be called the Ways and Means.
Right.
And then, you know, the City Council meeting too. So I've got a minimum of 4 meetings I have to go to pretty much every
I've
month.
seen the old Ways and Means meeting go longer than council's,
Oh yeah, right.
you know?
Yeah, because it's really more of it's
Hammering the things out.
It's hammering that. It's more of a workshop format. You typically aren't taking votes in that.
Right.
But you're going through all the details. That's the time to ask a lot of questions and really kind of lay the groundwork for what you feel, you know, and hope collaborate, negotiate, that sort of thing too, to the point that all of you have a good understanding, so that when you do go to the council and it comes up for consideration, which is a vote typically, then you know which way you're going to go.
Well, we're talking about the election, and so there's one subject that's dominated the discourse of the entire election. It's the short-term rental situation, and I want to give you a couple of minutes to espouse why you believe what you believe,
Sure.
and why you think it's important
Yeah.
that you vote the way you do on it.
Absolutely, and thanks for asking the question. I pretty much knew that one would be coming.
Yeah, of course.
And I'll say this, I mean, I fully admit that it is the major issue on the ballot.
On the ballot, yeah.
On November the 7th. So the referendum, and of course the whole STR subject that's tied into that, is the major issue. Now, do I personally think it's the highest priority issue that we have on the island? No, I don't. I think I think safety of our residents and our visitors probably is number one for me. I think traffic and parking solutions are number two for me, and I think drainage is number three. But certainly short-term rentals enter into that mix, and because it is such a
Definitely
large
is
issue,
most passionate issue.
it's
for the
passionate,
voters.
we have to deal with it. Now, my stand, for anybody who, wants to follow city council meetings, I have continuously been against putting a cap on short-term rentals. Not because I don't think that in some cases, at some point, we might have to have a cap in certain areas, but I don't see it being an imminent threat in our residential areas of the island. And by putting a cap, as the referendum calls for, of 1,600 on the STR licenses, I think that we are really kind of overreacting. I think what I would have liked to have seen us done, and what I voted for actually, was for us to monitor that situation and first back out the historic rentals that we had on Front Beach and in Wild Dunes that were really built to be rentals, townhomes, sea cabin villas, condos, and carve those out and not have them as part of that 1,600. Then look at what's left and what the penetration of short-term rental licenses are in those areas, mostly residential, and see if we did have a real problem that was developing. And I thought that for what we voted for, was to put some additional staff in place, have the building department kind of keep us apprised. We meet monthly basis, as we just discussed. We could stay on top of any type of situation that may come up, which we would have to react to as a council, or felt like we would have to react. So I just think, I really think it's overreaction at this point to have a cap. I'm in favor of voting no on the referendum. That's the way I will personally vote. But I also know and very aware that however this referendum goes, the people will decide. But however this goes, the new council, however it's made up, whether I'm on it or not, they're going to have to sit down, or we're going to have to sit down and make sure that we deal with this issue because it is such a passionate issue.
Do you think that I was talking with everybody tonight, it's the same thing, that it's very passionate now, but there will be times where you may work together with somebody that you're on the opposite side with this on a future issue. Do you think this council and this town will die down a little bit November 8th?
Well, I would hope so. I don't know, because I don't know what the outcome of the referendum is, and because it's so heated on both sides of the argument. I think it will take time, but I think we have to, as fiduciaries, I think we have to really make ourselves sit down and say, what do the people want? And let's hammer, knowing that we've got different opinions coming from a lot of different areas. What do they want, and what can we do as a council to see what we can get us all to a better place? Because some of us feel strongly that it may negatively affect property values, that it will negatively affect a homeowner's right to pass along their property to their heirs. You can go on, and then of course on the other side of the argument, people say no, it won't have any ill effect at all. In fact, it'll make us a better place to live. So everybody has their opinions on it, and they all are very passionate about it. So
Very much.
I think it's going to take a lot of collaboration, a lot of negotiation, and a willingness on all of our part to sit down and work together.
All right, you just left your council meeting, you and your wife and your daughters. You're like, let's go out and go do something tonight. What are you doing?
Are you going to restrict it to Isle of Palms? Or
Yeah.
Okay. Isle of Palms, we may land in one of the nice restaurants we have there. I mean, we've got a lot of great restaurants.
Yeah, I don't want to put you on the spot.
Yeah, I'm not going to name it. I'm not going to single out any specific.
You can eat at a great restaurant every night and not do the same one every week.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that's what we would typically do. Would be just all go out and sit down and have a nice meal together. Probably an adult beverage or two. Since we're all adults. And we just have a good time together.
Maybe some music at the Jammer later.
Maybe
I think I've seen y'all there.
That's right. Maybe some music, and then if it's if we happen to get through with a council meeting or something when there's still daylight, we may walk down to the beach, for a little bit and just kind of stroll around. But that's kind of what we've done for actually been here for almost 40 years, so it's been kind of the pattern that we've always
Yeah.
followed. One thing we don't do is on the weekends, being longtime Islanders, we don't leave that island. We get our
It's
provisions.
like my parking at this building.
Right,
Once I'm
yeah.
here, I'm here for the
Right,
day.
yeah, we get our provisions and we stick around the home place
Yeah.
as much as we can.
But you're on the beach
Emergency.
anyway, aren't you?
Well, I was. I moved to a different location.
Oh, you did?
That's
Okay.
off the beach. But we had a beachfront home for 27
Yeah.
years. And then when we became empty nesters, it just became such
Yeah.
a large.
Yeah.
Uh,
And being right on the
Challenge.
water, there's so many challenges.
yeah,
that
it
come with
really
that.
is, and we loved it there, and we still, and we love where we are because we're only 3 or 4 blocks away, but we're not right on the ocean
Gotcha.
now. So,
Gotcha.
but still close enough to see it and to smell it.
Well, hey man, I appreciate you coming in today.
Thanks,
I really do. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.